Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Dice Tower. I'm Camilla.
I'm Zee.
And today we're going to be taking a look at Spirits of the Wild Awakening. So this is going to be kind of the spiritual successor, almost second edition to Spirits of the Wild.
Right.
The Awakening specifically. It's going to be a two-player game where you are drafting marbles and using your tiles in order to fill your animals and score some points.
Theme
In
get to
there
that. We'll get to
somewhere. Right, yes. So let's check out how it plays. Zee will show us a brief overview here. Then we'll come back and let you know what we think.
Here we've got the game set up and ready to begin. We pick 5 animal tiles out of 15 that are in the box, and we make sure that both players have the same 5. Everybody has their action tiles. We have here 4 of these stones pulled from the bag and set in the bowl. We have the coyote set aside and then 2 stacks of 3 cards face up over here. The start player is going to make sure that they take this tile right here and turn it face down so it is off. And we are good to go. On your turn, and I will be the start player, I will select one of these tiles, I will activate that ability, and then it will be my opponent's turn. So my options here are, if you see this symbol, it means take one from the bowl, put it on one of my animals in one of these spots over here. The spot in the corner is reserved for a special iridescent piece that's in here, so they'll be empty for a while. This symbol here means take some from the bag, put them in the bowl, 2 or 3 respectively. And then this tile means reset the other tiles, because normally when you do it, you would flip it face down and turn it off like this. But this one, cleverly, is double-sided, so you can never get rid of that one. So that one will let you turn them all back on and then activate one of these 2 animal powers and then put that one at the bottom of its own stack of 3 cards. And so on my turn, perhaps I will do this one, okay? Where I grab the bag, I take out 2 of these stones, I put them in here, and then I take one and put it on one of my animals. So the different animals have different abilities and different ways in which they score. And as the game goes on, you'll be pulling those iridescent stones from the bag. They're basically clear, and those are going to be your end game trigger, these right here, okay? These will end up in the bowl just like any other stone. When there are 5 visible in play, the game will be over at the end of that turn. And these, if you take one from the bowl, you may choose to take one of these, and you would put it then in the corner for an animal, locking that animal down. You could not add any more stones to it, but if it has one of these, it scores double whatever it would, okay? So that's the idea, and that's scoring and end game, all right? So I activated that. I put 2 in there. Now I'm going to take one and put it on one of my animals. I can choose where it goes as long as I follow the rules, and then it is my opponent's turn. So what are those rules? Well, obviously, again, I'm only showing you 5 here out of 15 in the box, but we can take a look at how these work out. So we've got here, the salmon says you can put 1 of each color in those spaces, and then you're going to get victory points based on how many you did. So if I end up with 4 stones on here of different colors, and they have to be different for me to put them in here, then I get 6 points for that one, right? We've got the turtle. The turtle is going to be all of 1 color, and I can get points for that. Very simple. Both of those are very simple. Here we've got the beaver. I want 3 of a kind, and I get 5 points for that. If I get a pair, I get 2 points for that, plus 7 if I get both. So it's 5 or 2 or 14. And you can see that these 3 are linked, and these 2 are linked, okay? The moose here is all of 1 color. All 1 color, and then you get 1 point per stone, but you get 2 points per stone if your moose has more than your opponent's moose. So they're all 1 color. I've decided this will be blue now, right? And they're each going to be 1 point or 2. And then the otter here has space for 4, but when it's complete, you take 1 stone of your choice from the bag, and this will be worth 4 victory points. Okay, that's how it works. So I've gone. It'll be my opponent. They'll flip this face down, let's say. They'll take a couple. Maybe they'll start on their moose too. They'll take 2. They have to be the same color, so very nice. It comes back to me, and I will activate, let's say, this one right here. Anytime you see the fox, and you can activate it on this tile, or you could activate it when both of these get flipped face down. You activate I said fox, I meant the coyote. When you activate the coyote, you are going to take him from anywhere he is, and you may take him and move him to an opponent's animal, locking that animal down. Stones may not be added to that tile. And again, I could do it there or these two, or if a card says I may move him, then I can move him, okay? If later on my opponent chooses to activate that, then they could move it from there to any one of mine. You can also choose not to move it. If I like it where it is, I want it on my opponent's salmon, and I activate that symbol, I can just choose to leave it where it is. You will notice here, like I said, that this triggers one of the cards, so let's take a look at a couple of those. These are going to be the spirit powers, and it might do things like return one of your stones to the bag and then take 3 from the bag and place them. Once you do that, again, it goes away. Take 2 non-spirit stones or take 1 spirit stone from another and take another turn. The non-spirit ones are the normal ones, and then the spirit ones are those pearlescent ones, the clear ones. Maybe it'll be the badger. Move the coyote. Return 1 stone from that animal to the bowl. Ooh, that's a little mean. So there you go. That is how the game works. We're going to be going back and forth. Once you get 5 of those spirit stones out anywhere, a couple of mine, maybe a couple of my opponents, and then 1 shows up here. At the end of that go, we are done, and whoever has the most points is the winner of the game.
All right, I always like to start out talking about the components and the aesthetics of the game, just really what's going to be your first experience and your first feeling when you open it. And I will say I was really impressed with the deluxe nature of this game. I think it's really cool that they include that bowl in there, the plastic bowl for the marbles. It's going to help you keep your table clean, and it also just brings a presence with it. Really.
It's nice to have a central point where you pull from the bag and you put them there. You could have just put this on the table somewhere.
Right.
They don't roll. They're not, they're not round like an actual marble. They're sort of like a little, shaved down plastic bit. But the bowl, man,
it was cool. It was unneeded, but so very much appreciated. And so I think, and also like with the little fox that comes out too, he's adorable with his little mouth open, his little yawn.
I always say fox too. He's a coyote.
Oh, coyote. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but he's very cute.
He's super cute. So it just immediately you're brought into this game with this, I think, kind of pleasing experience.
Right. I am worried a little bit about this figure. I know in the past I've had some trouble with plastic pieces that have this sort of rubbery, tacky feel because they get a little gunky with the passage of time. It might be a weather thing. I don't know. I know I've had that happen to me for a couple of games. So I am a little worried about this developing that feeling. It's slightly tacky as it is right now, and I'm worried it's going to get real gummy. But this is also something you could, wash maybe or replace with anything else.
On it.
So you could maybe deal with that if it does get to that point. So that's a minor nitpick for me.
That as well. I mean, the game could have just had cards in it for a lot of what it's doing here. I like that they went with a thicker punched cardboard. It just has a really good feel to it.
I agree.
I think also one thing you're going to realize as you take the game out is just the amount of variability in the game. That there are, I think, 10 or 12 different spirits here.
Maybe even be 15.
15 that you're...
The original printing of this had, if I'm not mistaken, I've not played the original Spirits
of the
Wild.
Either,
Okay, it got hard to find for a while there. It was kind of like a really sought-after 2-player game for a while. And I think it just came with a 5. Per side. I don't know which 5, I don't remember. And there might have been fewer cards even, but this has 5, 10,
like
15.
15 different. And so that right there, out of the gate, you're depending on that synergy that you've created with those spirits that you choose, is going to vastly change the game. And feel different as you're looking for, can I synergize these together? Can I not? Okay, as I'm playing through the games, which ones do I want to focus on? What order do I want to finish them in? All that kind of stuff is going to go into your personal strategy. And then as well as the cards you talk about with those powers, which you're going to get when you take that refresh turn. Those have a lot of variability in them as well. So set you up for some really strategic moments of when you fill stuff, when you want to fill stuff, what order you want to fill it in, as well as when you want to take those refresh turns and get that 1 power. So a lot of little kind of micro decisions and timing elements that you have to think of that I think you might not expect when you just look at how limited components are in here.
And the game has a nice amount of rising tension as well, I would say, as you start to fill the boards in front of you and lock in colors. Like, I can't take this color on this animal anymore, either because it's all of one color, or it can only be one of each color, and I've already put that color there. So you start shoving yourself into corners that you have to try to smartly get out of and try to be clever with what you're doing. The game does have a decent amount of sort of take that for your opponent, but it never feels crippling in this game. There is, you're going to put the coyote on your opponent's board and then mess him up, lock him down. They can move it out of there, and then the cards can certainly have some take that to them.
I don't think, to use your word, I don't feel like it ever feels crippling, and it never feels mean either. And I think that's what makes this unique, is that it is very in your face, but in a push and pull kind of way. There is enough back and forth of it that it doesn't feel like you're being targeted. You're still focusing on what you are doing on your turn, and then it's almost like that pesky other player getting in the way and moving the fox, or you took the pearl that I wanted.
Right.
And so I think that's what was interesting to me, is that I expected it to feel very mean with that in your face, and it didn't. It felt more troublesome, which led to some really interesting moments. Once again, the timing of your turn, because when are you going to move the fox back? When do I want to use the tile that's going to put extra pearls in there, because I don't want to give you all these options.
Right.
Maybe I take that refresh a little bit earlier, which is going to put you in a position that you have to put it in there. Refill the pearls in there. So just some interesting decisions that you guys are very in your face and back and forth, but it never feels mean-spirited.
Sure.
And I like that a lot.
Speaking of spirited, the game is, the Spirits of the Wild theme, and the theme is certainly just kind of window dressing here. There's some, you can draw some parallels between the animal and the way it collects these stones and kind of what they represent, the reasons you would take them. You can extrapolate some thematic there. Oh, that's kind of how I think of a beaver too, or whatever. Yeah. But it's thin, Yes. And that's one thing to be aware of. This is kind of an abstract game with some luck and some take that then has this theme put on top of it. I like the amount of content you're going to get, but you're going to have to extrapolate some of the theme. I also am not a huge fan of the artwork on the cover here, which I think is the artwork they use on the cards. I find it to be a little, I don't know, there's something slightly high school notebooky about it.
I really like it. I think we're very different on that. I really like it. I think it is that high school, almost Lisa Frank, kind of adjacent. Yeah. So for me, it has that nostalgia with it, but also it's very kind of ethereal. I feel like I'm looking up at the constellations and seeing these animals. It has that feel and vibe to me. So yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's, especially for what I do consider an abstract game.
Sure, which is true.
I feel like this is extremely abstracted. Every now and then, maybe I can find something with the animals, and I'm like, oh, all right, but you have to do some heavy work to extrapolate that theme out of it. But I think it makes up for that in the actual visual presence of it.
I agree.
So, what are your final thoughts here?
All right. So, as I already said, I have a couple of small complaints. Another one being I don't love the white text on the orange background if you're playing the orange player. Even if you're playing the purple player, the purple's very wispy. So it's a little hard to see that text sometimes. If your eyesight's not rocking, you might have to sort of get up close to that text. That could have been a little more punchy, the colors. But overall, I really like the game. I enjoy what's going on. See, I had great rising tension, lots of variety, good back and forth, great decision points throughout the game. I really like this one. It's going to get a nice strong 8 out of 10 from me. Certainly want to recommend if you are a fan of two-player games, you don't mind the messing with each other a little bit feeling, and you like this theme, you like what's going on in this one. It's not going to feel thematic per se, but if you like that feeling of collecting and making patterns and making sets and choosing when you lock something down because you double the scoring, but now you can't add anything else to it. Oh no, that's gonna that's going to go over well, I think. So yeah, for me, I like it. It's an 8 out of 10.
I'm right there with you. I'm coming in at an 8 as well, and it's a very strong 8. What is pulling it back for me from going into that seal of excellence is just the lack of theme, but that's such an important part of games for me.
Sure.
But it doesn't detract from my enjoyment of this. If abstract doesn't bother you, so to speak, or if it does, this is still one that I think is well worth the effort to try, and the experience of trying. I love, like I've talked about here a lot, the different timing elements of it, and then the knowing when to put that pearl on one of your animals to lock down that scoring and be like, all right, that's it.
One,
when do you take it? When do you lock down that opportunity? And it also has a great arc to the game where you're not as far out of the scoring as you think you are. At some point, they might already have 3 that they're ready to score, but that doesn't mean you can't get those last 2. And if you better timed your spirits together and your synergy that's kind of feeding into them there, then you are still in the game.
Yeah.
And I think that to be able to create that much tension and have that much excitement in a very abstract game with a pleasing experience is just pretty unique.
Yeah.
So for me, it's an 8. I really enjoy this one. And that's going to be Spirits of the Wild Awakening. Thanks for joining us here at the Dice Tower. I'm Camilla.
I'm Zee.
And we'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks for watching another video here on the Dice Tower. We really appreciate you stopping by and checking our things out. Thanks so much for joining us today. And hey, if you really like what we're doing here at the Dice Tower, then there are different ways to support the Dice Tower. One of those ways is through Patreon. We have links in the description to this video. And we have links to lots of other things we do down there, so definitely check it out. But either way, we're glad you watched us. Tell your friends about the Dice Tower. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vassell, and I hope you enjoyed this video.